Hey guys, Captain Kerr, thanks for joining me. Hey, you flight junkie knuckleheads, I want to remind you of something out there because it happened to me yesterday. We finished up with our flying. Everybody's packed up and gone away. We had a nice little flying. We had some pretty lousy weather for the beginning of our flying, so we didn't have a big crowd, but we had a great time with a lot of fantastic people. I want to thank everybody for coming, all the help that they did. We had a really fun, nice little fly-in, and we did get a lot of flying in the last 2 days, but we did battle the weather. We had a lot of rain. If you ever want to make it rain, just plan an event. That's my advice. But hey, listen, I want to talk to you about something that happened. Now, a while back, I get a lot of students that are trying to find buyers for their equipment. Sometimes they go through a divorce or medical, they lose their job, or for whatever reason they get out of the sport or have to sell their equipment. I had a gentleman sell his equipment, and we ended up taking it off his hands for him, and we had a buyer for it. But they didn't need the wing. The buyer didn't need the wing, so I said, well, I'll tell you what. I told the buyer that bought the motor, I says, I'll tell you what, I'll take the wing. I could use a spare. I've got students around, and it'd be nice to have different sizes. And I bought the wing, and I asked him, because he's one of my students, I sold him the wing. And I don't like to buy used equipment. I don't, unless I know the history of it. And when I've sold stuff here at Flight Junkies, I usually knew where it came from or the people, and I take the stuff up and I fly it myself before I ever let you get in it. I kind of go through it to make sure everything's running properly on it so that you can be sure you're going into something. And even if it comes through me, I always offer unlimited free training. I don't want anybody, if they're buying used equipment, they're usually doing it because funds are a little bit low, and I understand that with everything from COVID going on to jobs closing and stuff, but you still have a desire to live. You can't shut down your whole world, and you have the dream of flight. So I understand some people want to cut corners, and buying used equipment is sometimes a bit of a risky thing. So I try to eliminate that by testing out the equipment, knowing where it came from. So anything that's coming from Flight Junkies, whether it's used or new, we want to know that you're going to be safe in it. So we test it out, we go over it, we try to find anything that needs to be replaced and make sure that you're into a good running, safe machine. And then, of course, we offer you the unlimited free training. I took the wing off the guy and I said, well, how many hours do you have on it? I sold it to him back in 2009. Now, I've got a wing upstairs that I just got back after being tested, and it's older than that, and it still has about 30 to 40% life left on it. So it was a power outless wing, which is this same as this one, and it's still flying. They're very durable. In fact, they're built out of a little bit thicker material, and back then it was built even thicker. But let me tell you something. When you get a used wing, so many guys, like I got a call from a guy yesterday, sent me photos of equipment that he bought, doesn't even know. I said, well, what did you buy? He didn't know. I said, what kind of wing is it? He didn't know. I said, well, what size is it? He doesn't know. I said, what's your body weight? He says 230. He knew that. And so they don't know what they're buying. They just think it's a good deal. Like they could just go in it. It's very particular what size motor and what size your wing in that you're going into. For safety's sake, it can be almost deadly buying the wrong combination of wing and motor and body weight for your size. Or on the other side of the scale, it just won't even fly you. It won't get you off the ground. Or if it struggles to get you off the ground, that can be dangerous too, because then you're not climbing out, you're not getting altitude. But when you're buying used equipment, it's one thing if your motor takes a crap and quits, because you'll just float down. You can land somewhere. You're just going to have the nightmare of always fixing it, not having the availability of parts because that company's out of business. Fresh Breeze, we don't have to worry about that. Fresh Breeze has been around for 30 years. They're amazing. You can always have parts, customer service, everything, and I've been out there for almost as long. But the other day at the fly-in, I was flying that used wing. Now, I've flown it before, I've kited it before, but since I knew the history of it, I trusted the person I was buying it from. He was a customer. I knew who he was. He's down in Florida where I'm at, and he told me he only had 60 hours on the wing. I'm not saying he's not accurate with that. All I'm saying is it's my mistake. I should have taken the wing, as I usually do, and send it off to a wing inspection facility. If you're buying a wing and you're not buying it from a reputable dealer and he hasn't test flown it or done something yourself, you're taking a big risk. There's a lot of guys that want to get rid of their garbage before it runs out of time, and they want to pawn it off on somebody so they can get another brand new wing. So they're going to try to get as much, and they'll play off the unsuspecting people and the people that don't know anything about the sport. They'll sell you the wrong size wing and they don't care. They have no remorse. They have no reputation on the line as a dealer to ruin later or give a bad review about. And I just don't deal with that nonsense. We're talking about people's lives here. And when you buy a wing, you can't always tell by what you feel. They say, oh, this wing is crispy. This wing is clean. This wing feels like brand new. And this one looks, feels, even kites like a new wing. The only thing that made me not get it tested was the amount of hours he told me he had on it. But normally I would take it off, and from now on, I'm going to. I've changed a little bit of myself in this because I learned a lot, because I fell out of the sky. Had it not been for my fly pod, I probably could have been seriously injured. I was flying the fly pod. I fly the Monster 312cc motor with the fly pod, and if hadn't been on that, I might have had broken legs, broken hips, compressed spine, or just dead, because this thing failed on me. And it looks clean, it feels crispy, the lines are all good, but you can't tell at quick notes without sending this off to a qualified, certified wing inspection facility. You cannot tell that wing is airworthy. You just can't tell that it's airworthy. And there is a trick, and we do it. Sometimes we blow on this to see if we feel it, but I didn't even do that because I really honestly thought by the way that it feels that everything is good on it, and with knowing my customer that and me selling it to him originally, I felt it was all right. And then I kited it and I flew it several times. What made it go bad, I have no idea, but it reached the end of its life. How it was treated, how he stored it, I have no idea. Maybe he kept it in the trunk of his car. Maybe he left it out baking in the sun on the beach. He's down in Florida with me. I don't know what made this life go out of this wing, or if he just wasn't accurate on the amount of time. I don't know. But when a wing goes bad, you're coming down, okay? It's one thing if your motor takes a crap, but when the wing takes the crap, you're coming down. It's called parachutal stall. You're coming straight down. The wind is coming up from above, and you see the horizon coming up. Okay, and I was at about 3,000 feet the first time it happened, and it was kind of breezy that morning up above, and I thought I just hit a wind drive. It only happened for a little while, and then I was able to recover it and bring it in for a landing, and I thought, geez, there must have been something crazy up there that I've never experienced in all my years of being a national skydiver, and from doing this for almost 30 years, I've never seen or felt anything like that. But there was some unusual weather patterns that moved down, that were up above, that weren't down on the ground, and I landed and I didn't fly. That evening I took it out again. The crowd was flying, everybody was having a great time, the sky was filled with wings, and my 85-year-old mother and my 89-year-old dad came out to watch me. My wife was sitting there, and I flew past them. I took off at the end of the field. I flew past them. They were up here by the tent that was set up here during the flying, and I waved at my mom, and the next thing I know, from about 60, 70 feet, she started coming straight down. I throttled up, wondering why am I going down? I throttled up because when you go down, your natural instinct is, if you want to go up, is you give throttle. Nothing was happening. I was taking it to full throttle, and I was still coming down, and I just put my hands up because you don't want to brake at that point, and I was preparing for impact, and man, did I impact. And like I said, had I not been surrounded in that steel of that fly pod, I probably wouldn't be standing here making this video for you today. Sorry for the shooting in the background. We're Republicans, and we believe it's okay to have freedom flight. Some of the students are back there shooting. Anyways, if you can hear that. But we got this wing out, and then we blew through it. And Mo Sheldon was here, and we were both kind of blowing through all of the white on this wing, which is half the wing. You can blow through it like a t-shirt. The blue was fine. We don't know why. We don't know if this part was the part hitting the sand all the time or what was going on. There is no explanation, but it was my responsibility that I should have taken this wing, sent it off to a wing inspection facility, and had porosity tests on it. They do everything. They check the porosity. They check the internal stitching. They check line strength. They check everything. Folks, listen to me. I teach this in the ground schooling. After you buy a wing, I usually, unless you've had trauma to it, I usually don't send my own personal wing off, since I know the care I've taken from it, for the first 3 years. And then I send it off either every year or every other year to have it checked out and inspected. And again, that's unless I've had trauma to it, like I laid it down on a fence post and it needs to be fixed. I want things fixed the right way. I don't want to try to do it myself. There are times you can put a small patch. They make patch kits for them, anytime there's a rip or a tear around a seam, I always send that off and let the professionals do it. I'm a pilot. I'm an instructor. But I'm not a seamstress, and I'm not. That's not my forte. Fixing wings or making sure they're airworthy. So please have your wings tested. It fooled me. It was able to fool me. It can fool you. And I've been in this sport for a long time, and I was pretty sure that this wing was airworthy enough that I trusted my life with it, and it almost cost me my life. So I just want to share that with you guys. I hope you learn from this. Pass this video on to somebody, even people we don't care for. Don't pass it on to Pelosi, but pass it on to everybody else. And we just thank you for joining us. And this is a good thing to really put at the top of your to-do list. Have your wing inspected. If you haven't had it inspected, you bought a used wing, maybe you've been flying, you think it's okay, it's going to reach the end of its life. It's going to reach the end, and you need to know when that's in. You don't want to be in the air when this happens. So thanks for joining me. I hope you get something out of this. God bless.